first period lesson didn't go quite as I had planned, so let me sit down and talk about this real quick. Needed to get the papers. So we're moving into dimensional analysis, and normally the way that I teach it, I don't know what I did with my student copy, but I have this sheet that looks like this, and I teach it using colors. And dimensional analysis basically is just converting. So for example, if I want to know how many seconds are in 3 years, we use equalities like 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, 60 minutes in 1 hour, 24 hours in 1 day, 365 days is equal to 1 year, like that, these. However, when I start teaching it, I use color. And actually, let me see if I can find the colored version real quick. Took it to my desk. And so this is what I normally do. However, over the summer I was trying to think of another way to introduce dimensional analysis by having the students investigate first and then me going over this. And I found this POGIL, process-oriented guided inquiry learning, that you can do in science classes, and there's different POGIL activities for various topics. However, I've never really come across one for dimensional analysis, or at least the chemistry book that I have doesn't have that one in there. And so I just Googled and I came up across one that looks similar to this, and I just retyped it last night. That's probably the main reason this didn't go well, because over the summer I wanted to do it. I didn't spend some time, I worked on other stuff, and then I just said, okay, once the school year starts, I'll work on this. This past weekend was Labor Day weekend. I'm trying to commit to not taking stuff home and work for long periods of time, so I didn't work on it. And then today's Wednesday, so yesterday I had tutoring after school. When I got home, I ate, was so tired, passed out. I was supposed to go work out, didn't even do that, and just went to bed and worked on type this real quick. And I was like, oh, this will work out pretty fine. And so ideally, this table number 1 has the students, there's this question right here that says, cross out any term above in table 1 that appears in both the numerator and denominator, and can you see why each final answer is correct? And again, I didn't deviate from the original worksheet. I just formatting, I made it a little bit more space, and then the font, I changed it to Arial. When I gave it to the students, some of the students were confused, and they were supposed to work together, and that was the other issue. They were in groups of 4, but then they weren't really talking with one another. Maybe this might work in some of my other classes. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna toss it and just not do it and go with what I normally do. So they weren't talking, because the whole part of the POGIL experience is for the students to collaborate, talk with one another, work through it together. And so it was just kind of very quiet. And they've actually been a little bit more talkative in the last couple of periods, because today's class 6. So the previous 5 classes, I felt like maybe they talked a little bit more, especially we just did a lab, and they communicated a little bit. They communicated doing that, so I thought, okay, this would be a little bit more easier. They're doing just classwork, but even then it was just like pulling teeth. And then when I started going over it, I just realized they didn't even get through the first part because they were struggling, and so I did the first part with them. And so I said, never mind. And so we didn't even make it past table 1 and the first 2 questions. I probably could have persisted, but I figured, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with what I know. And so we went back to this. Luckily, I already had the copies made, and the last, I wanna say 3, maybe 4 years, when I've done it this way, teaching dimensional analysis has been very easy compared to when I first started teaching chemistry and trying to teach dimensional analysis. It would take me several examples and just tries to get through it, but once I started to do it this way, I felt like the students got it pretty quickly. What I do is I have the students highlight, and I'm just using colors, and this doesn't make any sense, but it's just like stick with me. And so the question is convert or change green to blue. And so then I show them step 1, like what they can do. And so if I have green at the top, then green, the unit has to be down below. And they have, if it's the same in the numerator denominator, they cancel out, and we just keep going. So green and pink, green and pink. Then if pink is up here, then pink has to be down here, so I have to find one that has pink in it. So the next one that has pink in it is this one, pink to orange. So we go pink to orange, and then if orange is up here, orange has to be down here, so I find another one that has orange in it, orange to yellow, so on and so forth. Today, which is great, because then I had a student already right away, couldn't we just use green to purple and then purple to blue? Like he was already on it. which was this one right here, I was like, yeah, there's two, in this particular example, there are two different pathways. And with dimensional analysis, because of just depending on your conversion chart, your equalities chart, there might be multiple ways to solve a particular problem and still get the same answer. They got it pretty quickly. However, with first period, we were only able to get through the first two problems. There's an I do, a we do, a you do, and a you do. But as I was walking around, they were getting it pretty quickly. And then I didn't forget to take attendance, but there's this new thing to make sure that teachers are taking attendance at a certain time. So we have a specialized bell that started going off this week, right before attendance is supposed to be taken during the first period of the day. I don't have a fifth period, and so I don't ever have to worry about that. And so first period, I remember in my mind telling myself I need to take attendance, and then I totally forgot until the bell went off. So I think it's a good thing that they're trying to get teachers to take attendance, because funding is tied to attendance. So I had to stop that real quick, do attendance really fast. Luckily for me, I practiced the students' names. I created like a Google Slides with all their pictures and their names, and that's kind of been, I told them that was my homework over the weekend. So that is perhaps the one thing that I did school related, because I wanted to make sure that I knew the students, their names. So when I'm handing out papers or playing things like Kahoot, as far as just also relationship building, it's easier for me to do that once I know their name. And I'm also expecting for them to call me my name, not just Mr. Mr. Elias. So I had a lesson that particularly didn't go well, so it is okay if it is not going well, just to stop and be like, this isn't gonna work for me. Luckily, I had something else to fall back on, so I think for teachers who are particularly new, is having multiple plans, just in case a plan doesn't go according to what you thought it would go or how it would work. I think this POGIL would work, if I had a little bit more time to sit through and plan out how I wanted to do it, because I think ideally it looks good, but again, I didn't have much. I looked at it over the summer and then I rewrote it last night without really thinking about how I wanted to go about doing it. I just thought, okay, my years of experience, I can just take it and go. Clearly it didn't work, and so I think maybe for next year, thinking a little bit more through how I want to implement it. But I'm going to stop here because this period is about to end pretty soon. I want to have lunch, but there's a mentor-mentee meeting during lunch, and so I want to eat before that, because I don't want to be eating my lunch during that period or during that time, because I have a third period right after that, and I want to make sure that I'm ready for third period. So that's it for now. Well, I am trapped here because my umbrella is in my car. I could run outside, but I think I'm gonna try to wait it out. However, while I am waiting it out, today was day 2 of doing dimensional analysis. As I talked about a little bit earlier, I tried to do something different with my first period class, and then I realized like this just was not it, and so I scrapped it and went on. And so I did that with third period yesterday, and then also 7th and 8th period today. I felt it went pretty well. I heard the students saying, oh, I get this, you know, they were making comments. We only did, there are a total of 8 problems. There was like 1 I do, then there was a we do, and then 2 you do's on the left hand side of the paper, and then on the right it was all them to practice. So we only got through the left hand side. I saw some students already working on the right hand side, and so again, for the most part, I felt like the students were getting it, just as I was walking around and listening to their conversations. So tomorrow I need to check the weather, because hopefully it doesn't rain. They're supposed to do a dimensional analysis lab where actually they could still do it, but part of the fun is going outside and measuring. Let me go grab what I'm talking about. So they use these fiber rules, and they go out there and they measure the area of the building, the length and the width, and then they calculate that. They also, well actually the hallway, they measure the length of the hallway, but I think the directions tell them to use meter sticks. Sorry, my lips feel chapped, and so if they look a little bit crusty in this vlog, I apologize. And it looks like my battery's about to die. However, I don't want to be here for too long, so I'm gonna stop here. If there's anything about this vlog that you like, then make sure to hit that like button and or subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.